Hello, my name is Daniel. Today I'm going to be making a video on how to remove a bumper off of a 2013 Ford Flex. Bumper grill, my ultimate goal is to get to my headlight. On the driver's side, I need to replace the connector. I am doing this because my old headlight had a moisture problem, and basically it destroyed the connector on the headlight and the connector that the headlight plugs into on the car side, on the harness side. So hang on one second here and I'll show you the old headlight and why this whole thing is happening, and then I'm going to show you how to basically take the car apart in order to get to the headlight. Unfortunately, the design of the car, the only way to get to it is to remove the bumper. Did this last week. It took me a little over an hour to figure out how to get the bumper off. Unfortunately, on YouTube, there are not a ton of videos for the 2013 Flex showing you how to remove the bumper. So that's kind of going to be a step-by-step today as to how to do this. So hang on one second here, and I will show you why I'm doing this, and then we'll get to how to remove everything. Okay, so basically, in my case, this cover right here was broken in an accident along with the headlight, and when the body shop that I had used replaced the headlight, they decided not to replace this cover. This cover was $18, and as you can see, it was clearly damaged from the accident, and I don't know, but for whatever reason, they did not replace it. And I was living in New Mexico at the time of this accident when this cover got broken. There really wasn't a lot of moisture there, wasn't a lot of problems, but I recently moved here to Florida and been here about 2 months or so, 2.5 months, and well, there was a lot of moisture building up in the headlight, and since then, this pretty much is the outcome. This right here is the connector. Sorry, I'm trying to get you a good angle on it. There's supposed to be 2 pins on the top, 2 pins on the bottom, and one more on the left side, on this side over here, in the middle. Hang on. Sorry, one more on the other side, on this side in the middle. A little hard to see, but it basically disintegrated and broke, and it broke inside the harness side on the car. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a connector the same day that I was doing this last Saturday, and ended up have to ordering it, and now we're here 1 week later to rip the car apart again. So that's kind of what my problem is, and like I said, I'm going to show you how to disassemble the bumper, which includes the grill as well, because the grill has to come off in order to get the bumper off. So basically, what you're going to be going after to start with are 3 screws. Let's see, there's one right here. A little hard to see with the lighting. I'm not sure if you guys can see that, but there's 1 screw there, 1 screw there, 1 screw there, and then back here there is a push pin. You need to do this on both sides of the car, driver and passenger side. So before you start, what you want to do is turn your wheel to gain access to it. These are pretty much the tools that you're going to need. Fairly common tools. Basically, you're going to need a 7/32 bit, ratchet bit for those screws, and a 10mm with a ratchet, maybe an extension you might need a little later on. A couple of appliance tools to help get those push pins out. A couple different size flat blades, or slotted if you want to call them that. And in my case, since I have to splice out the connector and splice in a new connector, a pair of dikes and a pair of needle nose would help, as well as some dielectric grease. In the box there is the ballast. Not sure if the ballast in my car is broken or not. Didn't really want to take a chance with it. It was soaking wet. It looked fairly sealed. It still could be good. Didn't really want to take a chance on it, so I decided to get a new used one. It cost me about 90 bucks for the ballast, which I'll show you a little later once I get the headlight out. And then in the bag over there is the connector that we're going to be splicing, which again I'll show you a little later. So at the moment I'm going to stop the video so I can do this because I'm only one-handed here at this point. But basically that's what I'm going to do, is remove the screws from both sides, and then I'll show you the next step. Alright, I'm back. So the screws and the push pins are removed. Like I said, there were 3 screws, one here, one up here, and a push pin down in this area right there. Once it's removed, what you want to do is kind of move the inner fender away, and you're going to want to pull a little bit on. I don't know if you can see that. Sorry. You're going to want to pull the bumper away from the body. It's going to sound a little bad. It's going to sound like you're breaking stuff, but the bumper is basically just some light plastic. So just don't worry about the noise and just give it a little pull. And that's pretty much it. So you want to do that on both sides. Go to the passenger or driver's side. Move the fender a little bit out of the way. And that's about as far as you want to go at the moment. So that's pretty much it. The next thing you want to do is get yourself a flat blade screwdriver, and you're going to want to remove this cover right here. So what you're going to do is you're going to come down under the plastic here. Get you a better angle on that. You're just going to gently, and I mean really gently, kind of pry up to remove the tabs. You may have to come from the top, but just be very gentle. And you're going to hear it pop. There are several little plastic tabs that are holding in the cover. I had this off last week, and I noticed now, I believe this is the 3rd time now that I'm taking this off, 2nd that I'm doing it, the 3rd that it's been off, and I believe the 1st time that somebody had taken this off, they'd actually broken one of the tabs, which was basically just hanging on by a thread. So I did remove it. So there you go. Just pops right off. Oh, there's still one more holding on this side. Just give it a little tug. There you go. So cover's off. Just to show you, these are the tabs that hold it in place. One there, one there, one there. This was my broken one. One there, one there, and one there, and one on the end. So if you notice, here we go. So on this one, there is a little white tab, and most of them are missing right now. They tend to stick inside the part that holds them, or sometimes they fall through. So I recommend putting something down underneath your car to catch them, and something that's fairly easy to see them. And also, when you finally get the bumper off, you will probably find all of them sitting down here at the base of the bumper. So don't worry about them right now. Just get off what you can, remove the ones that you can, and you'll capture the rest later. So the idea behind taking this off is to get to, I don't know if you guys can see that, this screw here. It's a 10 millimeter, and this screw right here, it's also another 10 millimeter. You have to remove the grill because there's a like a retaining clip that's down in this corner, and I believe one down in this corner here that is holding the grill onto onto the frame of the car, and you cannot remove the bumper until that is removed. So at this point, I'm gonna open the hood. And show you what else needs to be removed to get the bumper off, just to start with. So on the 2013, you want to remove this bolt right here. It's also 10 mil. This push pin, and that bolt right there. You don't necessarily have to remove these in the front. I'm going to, because I like things to, be a little easy, and it only takes another minute or so. But I think that once you pull the grill off, after you get those two bolts out, the rest of the cover will basically tilt off without removing this top part. But I like it to be easy, and I actually had to remove it to kind of see if I can look last time to see what was actually holding it in place, which was these two bolts down here behind the silver part of the grill. So I'm going to stop the camera for a couple of minutes and remove those hidden bolts there that I just showed you, and remove the rest of the screws so I can make things a little easier for me. So I'll be right back. Alright, so I just removed the screw from here and the other screw from here. So now I'm just going to pull the grill off. Actually, maybe not. Yeah, hang tight. So in order to pull the grill off, yeah, I guess it would actually make it easier if this was out of your way, because you can't really get behind there to help pull it. So yeah, so I made a mistake. I apologize. This definitely has to come off to help you get your hand on the grill in order to remove it. So sorry, be right back with you in just a minute. Okay, so I now got these screws removed. By the way, these are 7/32 as well. 10 millimeter here, push pin, and 10 millimeter here. So now, as you can see, it is now part of sort of attached to the grill at the top there. So now you can just remove this cover. Get that out of your way. Alright, so now, in order to remove the grill, oh, there's one of those white pieces, little clips. Let's drop that back there. Alright, so, like I said, I don't know if you can, let's see if I can see this. So if you look down there, there's a little yellow retaining clip on that side. That's what's holding in the grill, and that's actually what's stopping you from removing the bumper. This right here is part of the bumper cover, this whole plastic piece, and that comes off with the bumper. So the grill has to get out of your way first in order to remove the bumper. So hang on a second, I'm just going to pull on the grill. I need both hands to do that, so I'm going to have to put the phone down here. Alright, so there's the grill. It just pops out. There's that little yellow retaining clip on the bottom left, the one on the bottom right. Put the grill out of the way here. And this is where the grill is holding into the frame of the car, and why it has to be removed in order to get the bumper off. So in doing so, I dropped a few more of those white clips. I think that was it that I saw so far. Alright, so now you got the bumper released from the side here, mostly. Actually, I think, there we go, a little bit more pull. One more pull. And that's kind of what it should look like. So your bumper kind of swing in here. So come around to the passenger side, do the same thing, one more little pull, and that's basically it. Your bumper is basically just hanging on by a thread. So if you're doing this by yourself, recommend getting yourself a creeper and something to cushion the bumper, as you don't want to scratch up your bumper, of course. So if you just put something down to help cushion it. The only thing that's left that's holding on the bumper at this point, holding the bumper to the car, is your fog lights, if you have that option. I do in my case. So put a creeper down, put something on it to protect the bumper. You're basically going to slide it under the bumper and lift this plastic piece up here, this part right here, you're going to lift it up and lean it forward, and then you're going to put it down onto the creeper, and then you can gain access to the connectors for the fog lights and disconnect it and roll the bumper away. I wish I had somebody here to video me doing this, but I don't, so just bear with me a second, and I'm just going to lift the bumper up and disconnect the fog lights, and then I'll come back to you. Bumper, just kind of hanging, sitting on the creeper. Right there is the fog light connector right here on the passenger side, and this is the one on the driver's side. It's disconnected. There's just a little catch at the bottom. Just want to squeeze that in and pull down on it, and there's your connector. Now it's released. Around to the passenger side. Hope you can see that. And there we go. And there's the connector. Now your bumper is free and clear. You can just move it away. Now your bumper is free. Might want to just make sure that you got all those little clips. Some of them sometimes do get stuck in there, so just make sure that they are all out, as they look to be. Yeah, I don't see any more clips, so I'm pretty sure I got all the ones that might have fallen out. Oh, there's actually one stuck right there. So, to get that, just grab your needle nose, squeeze down on the front tabs. Hang on a second. Where are we? There we are. So just grab a needle nose, squeeze down on the front tabs, and hopefully it should come right out. Or push out and drop it on your drop cloth. Alright, so either way, got all the tabs. Now, if you're doing any kind of headlight repair, to get the headlight out, basically there's 3 more screws that are holding it in place, or technically 4. You got this bolt here, 10 millimeter. Got this bolt here, 10 mil. These are kind of not long, but they're longer. And then you got this one here on the side that's holding it in, and then on top, on the bumper, or the driver's side corner panel, for in my case, this plastic screw right here. I would probably take this one out first, do the one on the right hand side here second, then do the bottom one third, and then as you're removing this last bolt, you definitely want to hold on to the headlight, because the only thing holding it in place at that point is the harnesses. And if you're like me, where you already replaced the headlight and then had to rip it apart again, you certainly don't want this headlight hitting the ground. As Ford's price locally here was a little over $900 for this. I found one online for about $700. So also, this particular headlight from Ford just comes with the headlight itself. It does not come with a bulb, the ballast, or the back cover. So if you are ordering one, you want to make sure you get everything that you need. In my case, I bought the headlight for $700 from another Ford dealer out of state. Had to call back to order the cover. And the bulbs I actually found online, 2 for about $85 off of Amazon. And Ford wanted, I believe, $380 plus for the headlight bulb itself. These are HID bulbs, so they're high intensity discharge bulbs. Also, when you're going to do this, if you notice here, there is a caution symbol. There's high voltage running through the headlight. So you definitely want to make sure that everything is disconnected before you start messing with stuff, as you don't want to get short out anything or get yourself a nice shock. So I recommend highly that before you do anything else, you disconnect the battery. On my car, it's right here. It's just one 10mm screw. Loosen it up, wrap it in a rag so it doesn't make any contact with the main terminal. So if you give me a couple minutes, that's what I'm going to do right now. And that's where we're at. Thanks. Bye. Alright, so I'm back. Got the headlight out. Removed the plastic screw that was up here. And I removed the screw that was down here on the side in that spot right there. And then the two that were holding it in front, which I believe screwed here and here. So once I got to that last screw, I held it on the bottom, got the screw out, and then disconnected the two harnesses that were holding the headlight in. This one right here is for your blinkers, and this is the main headlight one, and this is why I am gonna have to splice this connector out, cut this connector out and splice in a new one. There are 5 wires. Looks like on the left is a purple. Sorry, on the left is top left is a gray with a blue stripe. Top right is I believe it's a gray or green with a dark brown stripe. Below that one to the right, which is the pin that had broken away, is a red. Below that in the lower right corner is a black with looks like a white stripe. And then lower left is a purple. So it should be fairly easy to cut this away and splice in the new connector. A couple additional tools that I just realized as I was starting to take this apart and realized I was probably going to need. You're going to need one more screwdriver, a Phillips, to take out the plastic screw that was at the top of the headlight. And these are the 3 screws more that were holding in the headlight. The small one was to the right hand side. The 2 larger ones were the 2 in front. But yeah, a couple more tools wouldn't be a bad thing to have. Would be a box cutter or a pair of scissors and some electrical tape when you're finished. So the new connector is what I'm after. I hope this video has helped you. I am going to stop the recording right now and cut out that harness and splice in the new one, and then I'll pick it back up again and show you where we're at. And then we'll go back and reassemble everything. Or actually, I'm sorry. When I finish with that and make sure that my headlight works, I will just reassemble the headlight, reattach it to the car, make sure that it actually is working now. And then I think I'm going to take out the right headlight, as I bought 2 bulbs. I'm going to replace the one on the passenger side just so that I have 2 new bulbs at the same time. Couldn't hurt at this point. So that's where we're at, and I'll be back with you in just a minute. Okay, so it took a little bit of time, but had to solder the new harness in and cut out the old one, as you could see. Took my time doing it, did it the best that I could. Hopefully this will work. I used some shrink tubing that came in the kit. Unfortunately, the butt connectors weren't going to be an option because the wire on the new harness is at least 16 gauge, maybe 14 gauge wire. I'd say 14 gauge, and the wire on the harness side, which are the colored wires, were 20. So these tiny little butt connectors that came in the kit would work fine for the 14 gauge or 16 gauge, whichever the wires were on the harness side. But as soon as I tried to crimp it on the smaller side, they pulled out. So couldn't use it, had to solder it. Should work though. So that's the job. as always, anytime you're doing any kind of electrical work, I highly recommend that you definitely, absolutely, without fail, disconnect your battery. So that way you don't short circuit anything. So this harness actually has 2 extra wires on it that I don't need. Didn't really feel comfortable cutting them down to size and just letting them hang loose, so I just taped them up on the end, and gonna put them all back inside the chase, tape it back down with the crappy Ford tape here, and use some a little more electrical tape to make sure that everything is covered up and protected. And then I'm going to plug in my headlight and keep my fingers crossed. To this point, I have not changed out the ballast. I'm going to try it with the original one that was in the car. This down here is your ballast, this part right here. If you do need to change it, it's fairly simple to do. Just 4 screws. I believe they actually are 10 mil. They might be a little smaller, but I think they are 10s. So you just pull those 4 screws out. There are 2 connectors on the ballast, and just disconnect those connectors, swap it out with the new one, and you are good to go. If you needed to change out your bulbs for your blinkers, they are here for your lower one, here for your upper one, and you don't actually need to remove the whole bumper or anything to get to it. You could just open the hood and you should have fairly easy access to it. The only time you need to do anything to pull out the headlight is if you got to get to the main headlight bulb, which is right behind this cover. There is no access inside the car, so the headlight must come out. So that's the job right now. Just got one other little thing to do that I actually now have access here. I'm actually going to change out my air filter because I have really easy access to do it. And next week I'm doing an oil change. So since I have easy access right here to the air filter, I'm just going to actually swap it out with my spare one and get this one cleaned up and put it away for the next time I do an air filter switch. So give me a few minutes, I'll be back, and we'll test out the headlight and see if we work. And once I get everything connected, that's when I'll just reconnect the battery. So the battery is currently disconnected and protected from the terminal. So give me a few minutes, I'll be back to you. Okay, so can't do my air filter at the moment because I can't find it. But just to get back to the headlight issue and changing out that harness, a couple of extra additional tools is you probably want to have a wire stripper and a soldering gun with some solder that is, they call rosin core. It's made for automotive wiring repair. So just a couple extra tools. I think I already covered a pair of dikes and needle nose, a pair of scissors. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Kind of anxious to see my headlight if it's really working at this point. It's been well over a month that I've been driving around without it. So at this point, I'm just going to leave my air filter in, worry about that next week when I do my oil change. And I'm going to turn the camera off here. I'm going to plug in the headlight, connect the battery, and we will see if my headlight works. So I'll be right back with you. Okay, so headlights in, plugged in, hooked up. As you can see, no headlight still. Passenger side works, but not the driver's side. So at this point, only still 2 possibilities is either I did a really bad job wiring, didn't get a good connection somewhere, or the ballast is still part of the problem here and still bad. So I only temporarily screwed the headlight in place to hold it, just with the 2 front screws. So I am going to remove it again. I am going to remove the ballast and hook up the new one, the new used one, and keep my fingers crossed that it wasn't the wiring. But that's where we're at right now. Be back to you in a few. So, here's where we stand. My headlight saga still continues. Couldn't figure out why I had no headlight. Made my connections, which, as you can see, I kind of undid everything here just to recheck stuff. Turned out, ultimately, the headlight was still not turning on because underneath this cover, which is where the bulb is, give me a second here, I'll take it back off. I had found that last week when I had the headlight plugged in, I didn't make a good connection between the new bulb and the harness that plugs into the bulb. So made that connection, I heard it click, and I said, oh, great, now my headlight should now finally work. But since I was out here already, I decided to change the ballast, which, by the way, these screws here are 7mm. So plugged in the headlight, put it back in temporarily. The second I connected the battery, the headlight turned on, with the headlight switch turned off. There was a buzzing noise. Yeah, so this connector right here to the headlight bulb was not fully seated, and that's why I still did not have a headlight. So I'm trying to figure out why this is happening, but I did swap out the ballast, so I know that this ballast actually does work because the headlight lights up. I still don't know about mine. I don't understand it. As soon as I made the connection to the battery, the headlight turned on. When I turned on the headlights themselves, they worked, high beams, low beams, everything worked, which tells me the circuits are good as far as the fuses go. My wiring job was good. The headlight works, and the ballast is good, or at least the new used ballast that I had replaced. Still don't know if my ballast is still good. But why does the headlight come on automatically, immediately, and stay on and does not shut off? It is on 24/7 now, which is obviously no good because it'll just drain the battery and I'll be in trouble all the time. So I'm not sure what the wiring problem is, but I think it still has something to do with that 5th pin on the right side. I don't actually have a wiring diagram, don't know if I can actually find one or get access to one, but I don't think that I'm going to be able to figure this out without a wiring diagram, so I must find one and chase down these wire harnesses and wires and see which one is basically supposed to turn it on, which one's supposed to turn off, signal, ground, all that. I need a wiring diagram. So that is where I'm at right now. That is going to conclude it for the moment. I am going to get on my computer and see if I can hunt down any kind of a wiring diagram for these 5 pins. I got to figure out why the headlights are staying on 24/7 now. So that's where I'm at. We'll give you an update here in hopefully just a few minutes. For you guys, it'll be just a couple of seconds, but for me, it's probably going to take a little time. So I'll get back to you here as soon as I can. All right, so finally have a pair of working headlights. Ultimately, it turned out the problem was twofold. One, the headlights were never coming on because of the connection that I had made last week when I was putting this all together. There's a harness that plugs in directly to the bulb. I just didn't quite seat that all the way, and that was what was stopping the headlights from coming on at all. So once I got that connected and reconnected the battery, then the headlights stayed on, or at least the driver's side one stayed on 24/7 and would not shut off. With the headlights off, with the car off, the only way to turn the headlight off was to disconnect the battery again. Ultimately, it came out to be the ballast. The new ballast that I had purchased from Amazon, which is right here, is apparently defective. I put my old ballast back in, and luckily it actually works fine. So it was not damaged with all the water that was in there. But something is definitely damaged with this ballast that I got online, so I will be returning this and trying to get my money back. But that's the headlight repair. It's finally fixed. No tickets for me, thank God. Never got pulled over, and pretty much done. So at this point, though, really the only thing I need to really do is probably get the other headlight cleaned up, and get get all the wear and tear off of it, because the new one on the right of your screen there looks great, or the driver's side, and the passenger side looks kind of dull and fuzzy. So other than that, at this point, I think I'm just going to pull the passenger one out and replace the bulb, and that way, like I said, I have 2 new bulbs in there, and I won't need to really hopefully mess with this again for a very, very long time. And yeah, I think that's going to be it. I'm going to put everything back together again. Everything pretty much just goes back on in the reverse order. You start with the bumper, connect your fog lights, put the bumper back on, screw it down. It's pretty self-explanatory. I don't think I need to actually show step by step on this part going back. So I hope this video helped you. This is my first video, so please be kind. And thanks for watching. Have a great day. Happy New Year. Alright, so there we are, back together again. Headlights finally fixed and working, and everything's back together and good to go. So no tickets, thank God, and no extra screws, no extra parts, as it should be. This whole problem really stemmed from somebody doing some improper things. When it comes to repairing things, you really need to do things the proper way. And if you skip on something or skimp on anything, then you're just looking for troubles down the road. Ultimately, this car was in an accident, and as I had showed you earlier in the video with the broken cover on the back headlight is really what started this whole process. That cover being broken cost $18 to replace it. For whatever reason, the body shop did not replace it, and it led to ultimately moisture getting inside the headlight, which corroded the connector and the harness. So yeah, because the body shop didn't really do what they were supposed to do, it ended up costing me a little over $900, and about 4.5 hours last weekend, and I'm not sure what time it is right now, but it's probably about close to 4 o'clock, and I started around 11. So another 5 hours of ripping this thing apart, troubleshooting, and trying to get my headlights fixed. So 10 hours worth of time, $900. Did I save anything? Well, maybe not. Maybe Ford would have gotten this done a little quicker, but they wanted to charge me a fortune for this, and I really feel that if you're going to do a job and you want it done right, or if you want a job done right, do it yourself, because most people just don't really care. And when you get down to the mechanics that work pretty much anywhere across the country, you might find some that actually do care about what they do and will do a good job. But the majority of them, they're just there to punch a clock, to do a job as quickly as possible. They don't really care about your personal property. And they're just going to do whatever they have to do to get the job done. If they have to skip on something or skimp on it, they're going to do it. They don't care. It's not their car. It's not their property. I guarantee you that if they work on their own car, they wouldn't do that to their own. But this is what I seem to find everywhere I go, is workmanship that is just done very poorly. So I'm very glad that I am a halfway decent driveway mechanic. So lesson learned. You get into an accident, you have some problems with your car, get it taken care of right away. Don't wait on it. That's my moral of my story here. So good luck to you. I hope this video helped you out. And as I said before, it's my first one. So I hope it helps somebody rip apart their car to fix their own stuff. Thanks for watching again, and have yourself a great holiday. Happy New Year.